Video games have always been used as a form of promotion to some degree, like movie tie-ins, Pepsi Man, Sneak King, and that godforsaken Colonel Sanders romance game. Shameless brand integration is something we're all familiar with and we're all tired of. But shameless band integration, on the other hand, now we're talking. I've talked about video games with cool soundtracks ad nauseum, but I and most of the internet have kind of neglected to talk about bands that have their own video game. And oh my god, it's such a mixed bag. Most commonly they take form as spin-off ties to pre-existing IP and cheap rhythm games, but every so often you get something that's cool and unique and a legitimate creative expression from the band themselves, both for better and definitely for worse. So today I'm gonna channel my inner 2010 comedy game reviewer and talk about all of it. Roll the corny intro. Hey all, Crustbag here. Remember when sometimes games would come free with various products, Captain Crunch, Chex Quest, Pizza Hut demo discs, and whatnot? Well, believe it or not, there were actually multiple albums that came with video games as well, and some of them were actually good. For example, in 2008, if you were to get the 5-CD Earache compilation box set, in addition to some legitimately great bands, you would also get Earache Extreme Metal Racing, a game that sounds like I just completely made it up, but it's somehow real. There are vehicles based on Decapitated, Morbid Angel, Deicide, Mortis, yes, that Mortis, and Municipal Waste, where you get to drive the vehicle from Hazardous Mutation. The soundtrack, naturally, of course, just kicks ass. Whenever a new song plays, a blood-splattered MP3 player shows up to give you the track listing, and I'm pretty sure it's the only game that features on the soundtrack. As for the gameplay, it's basically exactly what you'd expect. It's just racing, but instead of item boxes, it has zombies that you run over, and each vehicle has its own unique attack to damage other vehicles. It's so over-the-top awesome. It's a shame that it's also just, like, really not good at all. It is so legitimately difficult to turn your vehicle, at least in the demo. It genuinely feels like movement was a complete afterthought, which is kind of unacceptable for a game that is solely based on movement. The level design is so sick, but when you actually play it, you realize that it's really just incredibly barren and boring with just some set dressing that you could kinda see for a second sometimes. The font that they use for everything is so cheap looking and kinda clips awkwardly. And even though the soundtrack is really cool, the audio quality is just complete dog shit. So the one thing this game really has going for it, it's kind of unlistenable. And speaking of audio, there's 7 sound effects, and you will hear them be repeated every second, and you will get tired of it borderline immediately. The vehicles are awesome, and there's a lot of good ideas. It definitely has a vision that I fuck with, but actually dealing with anything involving this game kind of feels like cancer. This game is total shovelware through and through, but as someone who grew up on a whole bunch of shovelware racing games, I kind of have a soft spot for it. But quality aside, this is definitely a top-tier video game that someone's playing in the background of a movie to establish that the character is kind of a deadbeat loser stoner type game, which is not nothing. I know that this game isn't technically a band with a video game, but I feel like it's a good place to start. And speaking about the start, before I talk about the first ever band that has a video game, I feel like it's worth discussing what laid the groundwork for band video game crossovers. And that's pinball machines. Motley Crue, Foo Fighters, Rolling Stones, Metallica, Kiss, Guns N' Roses, The Beatles, Elton John, The Spinal Tap, AC/DC, Aerosmith, Iron Maiden, Led Zeppelin. If it existed in the 70s, 80s, and early 90s, there's a pinball machine of it. And it's easy to think band pinball crossovers is entirely dad rock, but there's even a Weird Al pinball machine that was released in 2022. Naturally, pinball machines aren't as hot as they used to be, but I do think it laid the cultural groundwork and business model for bands to release a fun little game for their fans, as well as act as promotion to some degree. And as far as I could find, the first band to make the leap from physical games to digital is Journey.
The concert's over. Now you must help each member of Journey escape through mobs of love-crazed groupies, shifty-eyed promoters,
I can get you the forest.
spooky photographers. Find your roadies and manager. You've got 10 minutes. And run for the escape vehicle. And live to rock another day.
Journey's Escape for the Atari 2600 came out in 1982, and I gotta be real with you, the premise to this game is actually pretty cute and fun. Help them get to the tour bus after a crazy show. Watch out for the paparazzi. It's cute. I like it. It's simple and it's bare bones, but it was 1982, so that's pretty much the only option. And man, the soundtrack is just so beautiful. Listen, like, this will put a baby right to sleep. It just probably won't, wake up ever again. I don't know. I wish there was more to say about it since it's the first real example, but there really isn't. It takes like 10 minutes to beat, and the 30-second commercial kind of says all there is to say. But ew, that's enough history. What are we, some kind of nerd? These are video games we're talking about. They should be something badass. Revolution X is a 1994 arcade rail shooter where you shoot a machine gun and fire CDs to save Aerosmith from an evil government that's banned music, television, video games, magazines, human rights, and has declared a war on youth culture and fun itself. This game is basically a strobe light with guns. It's fucking awesome. And like, all jokes aside, it's actually really quite cool. There's rock music and hot girls and cool cars and violence. It's pure chaos. It's awesome in a really, juvenile way. If you decide to play with another person, whoever ends up getting the highest score gets a kiss from a supermodel, and the other person is like, oh, I'm so left out. I want a kiss from a babe. I just have to play again. It's so stupid, but this might be the best game ever made. There's bad guys wearing rollerblades, evil slime skeleton boss battles, some kind of vague Power Rangers type enemy, evil forklifts. There's even bikini babes doing forced labor in the Middle East, which is both problematic and kind of a hilarious visual. Also, I love this. Instead of dying or getting a game over, you just get censored by the fascist government, and their song Eat the Rich plays in the background. The whole thing is just so cartoonishly 90s rock and roll. It's breathtaking. Naturally, it was a critical and commercial success, but all the ports for home consoles was widely considered to be just kind of dog shit. And believe it or not, this actually isn't the only Aerosmith game. Just 1 year later, they dropped Quest for Fame, a proto-Guitar Hero type rhythm game where you strum a clunky chorded pick against any item of your choosing to the rhythm of the song. It's sort of like if they made a Guitar Hero game, but for Morse code. It's super binary in one note, but it is still technically a rhythm game. It has a ton of FMV wackiness and a weird cartoon art style, and even some rudimentary mini games as well. The plot of this game is exactly what you'd expect. You play the guitar so good that Aerosmith wants you to join them, and then you do. And that's the plot. It's a cool idea for the time and has a unique style and a little bit of a sense of humor that you could tell a lot of legitimate passion went into making it. It's just that there's really not that much to say about a Morse code Guitar Hero game, No offense, fellas.
That was lame.
You're right, I'll move on. Iron Maiden's Ed Hunter is a joint greatest hits album and video game where you play as a private detective who's trying to free Eddie from an insane asylum by shooting through levels inspired by the band's album cover art. The premise of the game actually has genuine promise, but the game itself, it's also a rail shooter, but instead of being fast-paced and arcadey, it's slower and moodier, which sounds interesting, but it mostly just ends up being a total fucking drag. Instead of being a rail shooter in the sense that, your perspective is mounted on a roller coaster, it's mostly just standing in one place, occasionally looking around, kinda, and zooming. And it just, inherently feels boring. If your own character doesn't have any urgency in the situation, then why should you? The soundtrack is also the most boring flat MIDI. I don't know if there's an issue with copyright to play it, but just trust me, it feels more like a cheap educational adventure more than it does an Iron Maiden shooting game. I know 1999 CGI isn't the best, but even then some, the cutscenes really do look like it's the first draft. Overall, it's not really gimmicky enough to feel special, and it's just cheap enough to feel like it shouldn't exist. Like, this looks like a fake video game that someone would be playing in the background of Smiling Friends or Crystal Fantasy or some shit. I'm sure it's fine if you have nostalgia for it, but the overall consensus is that it's pretty outdated even by 1999 standards. But as with the Earache game, it might not be breathtaking, but it's a super fun bonus addition to an album you were already interested in buying, and that's pretty cool. But not every game I'm going to talk about actually got made. For example, the Metallica game. Damage Inc. is a post-apocalyptic open-world vehicular combat game inspired by Twisted Metal, GTA, Waterworld, and Mad Max. It was first teased with this trailer that was included in their Saint Anger album, but development was cancelled in 2004. The only official information that we have on it is the aforementioned trailer, as well as some concept art. But Andrew Borman of P2P Online has a whole video about it, including a ton of footage from the unfinished dev build, and it seems like it actually kind of had some legitimate potential. But outside of that, there's really not much to say, since it technically doesn't even exist, but I recommend checking out their video if you want to learn more. But anyways, I'm getting tired of all this rock and roll bullshit. Let's talk about 50 Cent. 50 Cent's Bulletproof and its sequel Blood on the Sand are two extremely mediocre mid-2000s Xbox games, but they're also cool and I'm kinda glad they exist. I mean, where else are you gonna get 50, Tony Yayo, and the rest of the G-Unit featuring cameos from Eminem, Dr. Dre, and DJ Woo Kid? This is one of a kind. Its quality may be iffy and you move uncomfortably slow, but it's peak 2005 in a way that I kind of find to be beautiful. Some of the promo material's camera movements and integration of letterboxing is actually super stylish and cool, and I don't think it gets near enough credit. Also, the camera zooms in on his penis at one point. That's fun. There's also a dude named Popcorn who loves movies, lives in an old movie theater, and has brain damage, so he only speaks in movie quotes, and like, that's kind of an interesting character and background, which, no offense, I did not expect from the 50 Cent game. And the crew actually talks about it with a lot of pride and admiration. It's actually pretty sweet.
They created something that I'm really proud of actually being a part of it, because I feel like it's going to be the most exciting video game this year.
We finally made it. You know, all our dreams is coming true. I never thought it would be this big.
The sequel is about 50 and his crew killing terrorists in the Middle East, and that sounds like a joke, but it's not. Ooh. He's dead, 50. I don't think he could do that anymore. Also, there's like a crystal skull or something. I don't know. The plots really don't matter. It's just a standard 2000s ugly UI Xbox shooter, and there's really just not much to say beyond all that. But if we're gonna talk about rappers killing people in games, I have to talk about Def Jam. Def Jam Fight for New York is the second entry in Def Jam games and the only one I'm talking about, but the other ones are basically conceptually the same, so it's good enough. These are a series of wrestling games made by the record label Def Jam and features a bunch of musicians and other famous celebrities beating each other up for money. You could even fight the Elephant Man from the David Lynch movie. I mean, he looks a little different, but it's still a cool deep cut. You can knock someone out by hitting them in their dick repeatedly. That's awesome. Snoop Dogg can apparently do a bunch of flips. I mean, I know he's known for flip-flopping all the time, but I didn't know he was athletic too. When fighting, in order to activate your special move, everyone acts like they're going Hulk mode, and I don't think it's supposed to be funny, but it's funny every time.
Cry like a baby when my frost say
There's also a lot of cool character customization options as well, and speaking of character customization, if you want to customize your character in real life, I got new merch coming soon, or it's out right now. I don't really know yet, but consider it. It's cool. But anyways, back to the game. Outside of fun character customization, there's really not much else to the game other than a bunch of recognizable people wrestling, but it doesn't need to be more than that. That's more than enough, and it's a very solid good time. But taking a sharp left turn away from the concept of fun and straightforward, up next is Devo presents Adventures of the Smart Patrol. I'm gonna be real with you. Devo Presents Adventures of the Smart Patrol is a game I genuinely don't know how to talk about. It's weird, and not like cool artsy weird. It's like LOL random quirky weird mixed with like legitimate head injury weird.
Gumma. Everybody's absolutely crazy. We're atoms. We're not even here. What a face I have.
The game's humor revolves around potatoes a lot, and it just kind of feels like it was written by a 10-year-old in 2009. Like, the whole thing feels like this, but in video game format, and that's not a good thing.
Greetings! Welcome to Spudland! I'm Boogie Boy, and this is your Spud Finder.
Like, there's a point where you just feed all the members of Devo pudding, and it's not funny and goes on way too long, but then it kind of gets funny towards the end. I don't fucking know, man. And naturally, you're probably thinking, that's cool, man, but like, what's the game's plot? And here's the thing. I sat through so much of this game, and I have no idea what the fuck the plot was supposed to be, but it feels so gross to sit through. Oh, there's a romance? Oh, okay. Who are you?
Dire news. It's imperative that the SP meet with Rod Reuter at Big Media's Stool Scoot Court at hour 6.
Oh, okay.
The axe is falling on the BE net piracy issue. It could be time to bend over.
I understand.
I don't. What the fuck is happening? According to Wikipedia, apparently the plot is about capturing Turkey Monkey, an insane, horrible freak mutant, and finding the cure to a bone-dissolving disease that forces its victims to walk around in skeleton-like suits. But of course. Meanwhile, the player must face off against antagonists such as the healthcare provider, based, as well as right-wing fundamentalists. Also based, but sadly not even woke can save this fever dream of a game. It is and was considered a major disappointment. It's super ambitious and has a lot of character, but it's also extremely off-putting in just about every single way, and that kind of overshadows the other stuff, unfortunately. And speaking of weird stuff overshadowing the plot of a game, in Michael Jackson's Moonwalker, you play as Michael Jackson running around collecting children. Something I'm sure won't age poorly. It's based on the movie of the same name, and there's many different versions, but I'm mostly going to be talking about the arcade and Genesis versions combined just to make it easier. Besides the whole collecting children thing, this game is actually pretty fun. You can attack bad guys by throwing your hat, grabbing your junk, throwing pocket sand, and there's even a special move where you synchronize dance with everyone so hard that it kills them. And if you activate your chimp bubbles, you turn into Iron Man. Of course. Also, sometimes you have lightning powers. I don't know why. Also, there's so many evil robot enemies in this game. A good chunk of the enemies make sense for Michael Jackson's canon, but like, what the fuck is this? Out of context, there is zero indication that this is a Michael Jackson game. Why are there robots at the spooky graveyard? Shouldn't there be like ghosts or zombies or some shit? Why does he turn into a jet and fly away? I don't think Michael Jackson can do that. Every time Michael Jackson laughs, it's fucking terrifying. In fact, every noise Michael Jackson makes is borderline a jump scare. And speaking of jump scares, there's also a spider dimension, because the people who made this game were on crack. The soundtrack is all 8-bit versions of Michael Jackson songs, and it translates really well to a fun arcade setting. For what the game is, it's actually pretty decent, but believe it or not, it's not the only Michael Jackson game, because there's also Michael Jackson The Experience was a 2010 game released on practically every platform ever to mixed results. But despite that, it still ended up being the 34th best-selling Wii game on the entire platform, which is pretty impressive. I gotta be real with you, I'm a little bit ashamed to admit this, but this is the only game on the list that I actually grew up playing as a kid. I wish it was one of the cool ones, but nope, it's the Michael Jackson Just Dance ripoff. Yay! I remember it came with a sequin glove that was too big on me because I was 11, which Doesn't really make much sense considering I was his target demographic in more ways than one. And I don't know, it's just a cheap Just Dance ripoff. There's really not much to say about it. It's not a particularly well-polished game, but it's a Michael Jackson dance-along video game. It's about as good as it needs to be. Anyways, have y'all heard of X Japan? X Japan was a band from, you guessed it, Japan, and apparently they were a big deal enough that they released X Japan Virtual Shock 001 on the Sega Saturn in 1995. I like how the title makes it seem like they were expecting to make at least 99 sequels, but I don't think that happened. You play as the band's photographer, and you just kind of gotta walk around extremely slowly and talk to people, and I don't speak Japanese, so anything beyond that, I just totally missed. Oh, sorry. Oh, okay, okay. What do I do? Yeah, alright, hey, you too, man. I don't know. The language barrier does lead to some funny moments, like whenever you get an item, it just says, "You get!" Which is somehow funny every time. Visually, this is one of the blandest FMVs I have ever seen. I mean, like, points for realism, I guess, but it's not exactly fun to walk around unbelievably slowly through the back area of a stadium. Also, despite being a professional photographer for a huge stadium event, all the photos you take suck ass. And like, I'm not even trying to be mean, it's just legitimately impressive how empty and nothing this game is. And then just completely out of the blue, this happens? I don't know what he said. You have edited this video. I did? Oh, okay. Cool, I guess. Anyways, this game is unique. I would not say good, but unique, definitely. Just like this next game. Rednex, the Swedish country dance group most known for their song Cotton Eye Joe, has a point-and-click adventure game as part of their first EP, and boy, it's something. It's pretty similar to Myst, and that is not a compliment. In all of the FMV segments, everyone has like heavy Swedish accents while trying to do a Western redneck accent.
What the heck have you done to our elevator?
And it's just so silly and painfully awkward.
Feels good to see the light again. You know, I've been stuck down there for 2 weeks, and I could really go for some good old snooze right now.
This footage isn't artificially extended, by the way. The whole game is just so slow that it feels like a shitpost. I mean, this explosion is still happening. It's so bad. I know that TikTok has ruined everyone's attention span, but like, this is ridiculous even for the early 90s. Anyways, the plot is you gotta gather all the members to get them ready for tour. And I don't know, it sort of seems like I'm glossing over this game, but to be frank, that's pretty much all there is to say. Anyways, next game. Now, I know what you're thinking. There's a Motorhead game? How come I've never heard of it before? And the answer is simple. It sucks. Besides occasional imagery and the main character is based on Lemmy, there's no music or story or anything really that's even related to the band. I couldn't even find any members of the band acknowledging the game's existence or anything. I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but I couldn't find it. I assume it was just a copyright agreement so that the game could get sales and the band could get an additional source of revenue, but it was so bad that everyone just kept their mouth shut. But I don't know. It's a generic beat 'em up where you hit generic bad guys and also random women with a guitar, bad breath, and you also drink beer, and it's just kind of a complete nothing burger of a game. And speaking of nothing burger, there are tons of other games based on musicians out there that a lot of them are just not worth the effort to talk about for more than 30 seconds. So I'm gonna do us both a favor, and we're gonna enter a Bands with Video Games lightning round. Wu-Tang Shaolin Style, a 1999 3D fighting game that got mixed reviews but was praised for its soundtrack and ultra-violence. Outside of Wu-Tang's involvement in the music production, voiceover work, characters, and title, it's a fairly standard late 90s 3D fighting title that isn't particularly special unless if you're just a huge fan of Wu-Tang. It also came with a pretty cool controller, but other than that, there's really not too much to say about it, but it's pretty solid for what it is. The Beavis and Butthead 1994 game centers around the characters trying to get to a Gwar show, and even though it is not a Gwar video game, they are basically the whole plot, so it counts kinda. Gwar also has a card game called Gwar vs. Time, and I know it's not a video game, but I felt like I should mention it. Soulja Boy has multiple gaming consoles, but it's just selling illegal rips of cheap Amazon gaming consoles for double the price, so although it does technically count to some degree, it's also just a scam. Brutal Legend is not any one band's video game, but a celebration of heavy metal as a genre, and features Lemmy, Rob Halford, Ozzy Osbourne, rest in peace, and of course, Jack Black and Kyle Gass. Phil Collins is in Grand Theft Auto Vice City, and if you complete a mission, you get to watch an entire in-game performance of In the Air Tonight, and I know it's not his game, but it's noteworthy enough to be included. There's a text adventure called Beatle Quest that came out in 1985, and I don't think any of the members of the Beatles were involved with it, just permission from their record label and cover art from their main collaborator. It technically counts, but it's also not really anything. Alternatively, there's Kanye's Quest, an RPG Maker game that's unsurprisingly unlicensed and unauthorized by Kanye West, and was apparently just a high school project that ended up getting a cult following. Pun intended. Prince Interactive is Prince's video game, and it's cited as being similar to Myst, where you explore different rooms and solve puzzles to collect pieces of Prince's symbol, but it mostly just looks like they didn't know how to make a video game and then just kind of threw a bunch of things there that you could click on. I know what I said is a horrible description, but trust me, it's barely a game. There's Hannah Montana Music Jam, Hannah Montana Spotlight World Tour, Hannah Montana the Movie, the game, Hannah Montana Secret Star, and Hannah Montana Rock Out the Show. Those count, technically. There's also JoJo Siwa's Worldwide Party, a game that looks near identical to a free Flash game, only it costs $40 for some reason. The Blues Brothers has a game. There's Spice World, Wham! The Music Box, that counts kinda. NSYNC Get to the Show for the Game Boy Color, the Naked Brothers Band video game, that looks terrible. Kids Bop Dance Party, the video game, that exists, and also ABBA You Can Dance, which appears to be made by the same people who made the Michael Jackson Experience. In Britney's Dance Beat, you can play as, you guessed it, Carla, Dan, Enrique, and all your other favorite Britney Spears characters. So instead of playing as Britney, you just play as these random people, and you're like auditioning for Britney over Skype or something. I don't know. The intro to this game is so awkward, it's amazing.
Hey there, I'm Britney Spears.
Anyways, it's a rhythm game for the PlayStation 2, super bare bones, only like 5 songs. It's like Simon Says, but with Britney Spears music. Also, like, this might just be me, but I find all the loading screens to be super funny. Like, it just looks like Britney Spears herself is saying all of this. There's also Britney Spears' American Dream, an iOS game from the same developers as the Kim Kardashian app. Sign me up. Anyways, that's enough of that. Let's get back to, like, actual games. I'm gonna put back on my gaming history glasses for this one. In 1997, Queen released The Eye, a 5 CD box set, as well as an action sci-fi adventure about an evil AI system called I that rules the world and has banned creativity. You play as Dub Rock, a secret agent who accidentally discovers rock music and is therefore sentenced to death in a Running Man-esque televised battle fighting the Watchers. You with me so far? Okay, cool. The plot is ambitious, but it's mostly cohesive. At least on paper, it kinda is. Like, the moment you hear any of the in-game dialogue, it becomes the most fucking confusing shit ever.
Listen to me. You only have one choice with the elements and the Maiden's Tomb. It closes tighter as you get it wrong.
This game is one of the more unique examples in this video because there's a few references and music video footage, but outside of that, it's kind of just its own vision. But it's not very good. It looks like it has promise, however, if you spend like any period of time with this game, you quickly learn that oh, it doesn't. At one point, Freddie Mercury throws an eagle's talon through a magical painting so it can be used against an extremely long, drawn-out battle against a snake man. Out of context, that seems insane, but even with context, it's not much help. It got a lot of bad reviews, mostly citing how horrible the fighting was, and even watching it feels like a chore. Like, how is he not dead yet? Every single enemy is like this, by the way. It's miserable. Also, I don't know if you've noticed, but it cuts to black in between every scene change, which is code for every 2 seconds. I know it's just hardware limitations of the time, but like it's rough. Also, like, all the items you have to pick up are like comedically hard to miss and necessary for progression. I'll take obnoxious yellow paint and developer sparkles over borderline invisible items any day of the week. And despite this being Queen's video game, the soundtrack somehow clashes really heavily with everything, which is kind of an issue since that's like, you know, the whole point of the game's existence. When you think of like sci-fi, Resident Evil meets medieval or whatever, you don't really think We Will Rock You, you know? It's like if they replaced the music in Terminator 2 with ZZ Top. Like, it's cool, but like, for the entire soundtrack, what are we doing? It has a very strong, really ambitious vision, and I appreciate bold swings, even if it results in a miss. A lot of the ideas from this game were repurposed into a musical, but I don't know. It's both very interesting and somehow there's really not much to say about it at the same time. But there's another bold swing by a different band that, in my opinion, actually knocks it out of the park. And that's Radiohead. Kid A Mnesia is a 2021 interactive exhibition / walking simulator developed by Radiohead for free alongside a reissue compilation of their albums Kid A and Amnesiac. There's no enemies, no points, no objective, just an abstract brutalist representation of the songs themselves, making this entry both the most straightforward and the most complicated game on this list, besides Devo. This piece is all about immersion, walking around, exploring the space, listening to the subtle sounds, looking at the artwork, and admiring these funny little guys. It's a legitimately psychedelic experience where even sober going through it feels like you took something. In many ways, it's very beautiful and spiritual, and in others, it's kind of eerie and unnerving. It allows all the songs to have a physical space, digitally of course, but that doesn't water down the expression. If anything, it amplifies it to an experience beyond physical limitations. Even with a map, you will get lost, and that's by design. The songs are kind of split into stems and scattered about a 3D space in rooms that are meant to invoke emotions more than anything tangible. Every other game I've talked about I can describe pretty matter-of-factly, but this is truly an experience way more than it is a game. In fact, the game even starts off by bluntly telling you that this is not a game at the very start, but I still think it should be included in this video regardless, even if Jacob Geller beat me to it. But the next time you're ready to boot up Fortnite, maybe decide to check out the Radiohead exhibit. You know, it's free, and I really hope other musicians do similar endeavors, because it's really special. But ew, bro, that's enough art or whatever. Let's talk about something cool, like a game where one of your weapons is a Alongside Health's 2023 album, they also released Rat Wars Survivors, a Vampire Survivors clone that is free to play on itch.io, as well as in the App Store. Pretty much everything is a reference to their discography or their merch. You got the NC-17 plug, the Feel Nothing Health condom that I do in fact own, the album itself on razor sharp vinyl, that's a weapon. Black Static, one of my favorite songs, you eliminate your enemies with harsh noise. It's just the perfect fun bullshit you'd come to expect from bands making their own video games. If you die, you get this Sega CD looking message where Johnny tells you not to give up in a very canned, unconvincing way, and it's so funny for no reason.
Don't give up. I'm serious, don't give up. Please, we need you. Please continue the Rat Wars. Don't give up.
It strikes the perfect balance between labor of love and shitposty. It doesn't really bring anything new to the table, but it also doesn't need to. It's a perfect modern example of bands having their own video game. And lastly, we're going to be discussing Kiss Psycho Circus The Nightmare Child, which is a fucking insane name. It's a first-person shooter about a Kiss tribute band who gets magic powers based on the comic book series by Todd McFarlane, of all people. It was also developed by an offshoot of Ion Storm, the makers of Deus Ex, which is kinda cool and surprising. All the UI text has crazy capitalization, it got like a Dark Circus, Insane Clown Posse type vibe that honestly translates really well into a video game, But boy, does it make for a loud outfit. Much like my outfit, however, the overall visual aesthetic of this game is pretty cool. All the enemies have really cool designs, and it's really diverse in its locations, weapons, and tones, and I am changing. This outfit is so loud. That was the closest thing I had to anything Circus related, and I'm not doing that again. Anyways, this game is really cool, is my point. It kind of opts for like the Dark Souls 2 type difficulty where it just throws 800 enemies at you to simulate difficulty. That kind of sucks. But despite that, it's pretty charming and fun and cool and unique. I don't know. I like it. But as cool as all this stuff is, and even though there are some recent examples, unfortunately, I think this will continue being a fairly rare endeavor. Not only are games expensive and time-consuming, but as musicians get paid less and less every year, it becomes less and less feasible to do something cool and crazy on the side. And even if large bands do have the ability to help fund a video game, it would be much smarter and safer to just collaborate with pre-existing video games like Fortnite. It makes sense, but it's just kind of a bummer. Not only is bands having their own video game fun and cool, but I feel like there's a lot that's also unexplored. Imagine a straight edge band, like any straight edge band, having like a Doom clone where you killed drug dealers or something. That sounds awesome. Vegan straight edge bands could do something about like breaking into something to like rescue animals or blowing up a pipeline to save the wildlife or something. Imagine like a sniper killer type game where you don't know exactly who your target is, so you have to watch everyone's behavior to pick out who's the poser and then eliminate them. I don't know. That would be fun. Weird Al could have a game that parodies a bunch of different video games. A Falling in Reverse game where you bitch on Twitter and TikTok for 12 hours a day despite being over 40. An As I Lay Dying game where you battle your wife. Press X to avoid therapy. There's literally so much potential, both ironically and unironically. Can a lot of these games stand on their own? No, but they also don't need to. A lot of them are just fun, free bonus editions for fans and should be treated as such. But I do hope that it's something that we can see more of eventually. Like, one of the best parts about the early internet is how customizable, like, everything was. And that led to a lot of unnecessary but fun, interactable stuff like Korn's 2003 website, for example. Sometimes a video game is straight up asking too much, but just having some sort of interactable gimmick, as long as it works and it's a good idea, can go a long way. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. Huge thanks to all my Patreon supporters for making videos like these possible. If you want to join this list and help support me, please consider subbing over there if you can. I'm positive there are tons of other games that I glossed over or didn't mention, so if there's any cool ones that are worth checking out, let me know in the comments. I am genuinely curious. That is not comment bait, I mean it. Anyways, subscribe, get some new merch if you want, and yeah, that's it. Alright, love you. Bye.